The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Ambar Garcia, Brian Broaddus, Nick Harris, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Tuesday, August 13th, 2024, season 20, episode number 16. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. Live from Oxnard, California. We are entering the third week of training camp out here in Oxnard. We will have about a week and a half left.
Man, I am sick of you counting these damn days.
Man,
they need more practice time out here.
No, we're good. We're good.
More.
We got plenty.
I think we could do the
10 more days.
I think we
Is
do
that right?
the Cleveland practice. Get ready for Cleveland week out here.
No, we're good. We're good. Chris Beam, our producer, just gave me the hands. We got 10 days left before we will be back in Dallas. Some of us will be leaving a little earlier than that, but we won't talk about that right now. But let's talk about
Somebody.
Oh, yeah, we are presented by LG. LG is the world's #1 OLED TV brand for 11 years and counting. See why at LG.com/OLED Evo. All right, let's talk about Cowboys game. They had their first preseason game over the weekend. We were there. They play the Los Angeles Rams. They lose 13-12. Score's not really that important. You come out of practice preseason games, you want to get some good work for your young guys, and you want to keep everybody healthy. Cowboys stayed pretty clean. One injury that did happen during the game, Chuma Edoga. What do we know at this point?
Yeah, Chuma Edoga, he left in the first quarter, and he was seen with a boot around his left foot going into the rest of the game. And then going into the locker room, he was in street clothes and had that boot on his left foot. And it's kind of interesting, too, because this time last year he was battling an ankle out here at training camp. But it seems that this time it's sounding to be a little bit more serious. We'll find out more from Mike McCarthy today at his press conference, 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 1:30 for you folks back out in Dallas. But that could be the catalyst towards Tyler Guyton getting some more first-team reps. I know a lot of people have been asking for it, and I think the virus that he had a couple of weeks ago maybe slowed the process even from the coaching staff's perspective. But now it sounds like there's going to be a huge opportunity in front of him this week, not only in the game on Saturday against the Raiders, but another joint practice with the Rams on Wednesday. So expect 60 to get a lot of work.
It's one of the things actually that coming out of that game, he got a lot more work than maybe they were even expecting for him. What'd you guys see from him?
Yeah,
Tyler Guyton.
Yeah, the thing with Guyton, and it's so evident. And by the way, if he could go of missing a week of practice basically and playing at the level that he played at in that football game, it's kind of a good sign for your Dallas Cowboys there with him.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch him play when you could see the athletic ability, and especially the very first rep he has, and it's a pass set, and you see him duck his head. And usually when an offensive tackle or blocker ducks his head, all that weight's forward, and you see the defender grab and work around him that way. But his ability to duck his head but then recover with the footwork and then get his hands in place and then keep the rusher wide, push the rusher wide, that was a really good sign to me. That just shows you his athletic ability. It shows you the length that he has. And from that point on, when you started to evaluate him, getting off the football in the running game, they tried to run the crack toss. He's knocking guys down on the crack toss, playing in space. There were a lot of positives about a guy, again, that didn't practice all that much last week, if at all.
Yeah.
And for him to work his way back in, I think it's a good sign. It's unfortunate for Edoga. It seems like this training camp he has had to deal with a lot of things. He had a lower back problem. He had back spasms. Now he's got the condition with his foot. We'll see how that all plays out. But, yeah, they now have to kind of figure out how things are going to work out at this tackle spot with Guyton, likely getting the lion's share of the reps, but then what's going to happen behind that. Because that's something that, you don't want to go into the season if Edoga's, say, long-term, and we don't know yet, but you don't want to go in there shorthanded with that group.
Well, with Guyton, I've been extremely impressed knowing that he was sick for multiple days And then for him to perform the way that he did at the game, I mean, that is very, very promising. And I'm super happy to see that the hard work that he's been putting in, all the hours, is translating and it's being shown on the field. I mean, the guy during the offseason and even heading here into training camp, you ask him, hey, what do you like doing? What's your hobby? What do you do outside? Football. Oh, my time off, football. Learn more football. So everything that has come out of his mouth is all about football. So the guy, speaking of all in, he is all in. So he's putting in the work. And anyways, super, super exciting to see that such a young guy switching positions like that. He's coming in and it doesn't look like he's going to miss a beat.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You look at this team and what they've done. Really, you could probably go back 15 years or so, and their ability to be able to get good offensive linemen. It's like when they go for those first-round offensive linemen, it's very rare they miss. Like they have been able to find some really good success there. And you look at other franchises, let's say like the Giants.
I didn't mention them.
Yeah, they've spent these first-round picks and just haven't had the success.
Yeah.
Like it's not an easy thing necessarily to draft, but the Cowboys have been really, really good at it, at least from what we're seeing so far from Guyton.
Yeah, I think that you go back to even you mentioned go back all the way to Tyron Smith.
Yeah,
I think it starts there, and then it's the Tyron Smith, it's the Zach Martins, it's the Travis Fredericks.
And Travis Frederick, a lot of people didn't think that was a great pick, right?
There was a lot of people that when they dumped out of their spot to go all the way to the bottom of the board and to draft Travis Frederick and pick up an extra third-round pick. That was a brilliant move, and you're absolutely right. There's a lot of us, me included, that were like, whoa, did you get the value for the pick? Could there have been another player you were taken? Why did you trade back? A lot of questions there, but to your point, they've done a great job of evaluating offensive linemen, and especially those first-round offensive linemen.
Yeah, going back to Guyton, I think for me, I expected him to look pretty good in pass protection against the Rams, and he did. He looked great. He didn't allow any pressures. For me, I've been expecting the inexperience to show up in the run game, and for what he did in the run game on Sunday, I felt great about it. He was able to get after guys at the point of attack. He had a push. He was able to create running lanes off the left side. Now, granted, the running game itself was not great. I'm sure that's something we'll dive into. That's becoming a more glaring problem, I think, as training camp powers on. But looking from Tyler Guyton's perspective specifically, I think he did just fine in the run game. Now, granted, it's a very small sample size, but a really good start for him on the field.
All right, let's flip and let's talk about I'm going to do some player evaluations as we go throughout the show. Really, in the second segment, we're going to dedicate it to throwing out some names and getting you guys' opinions. But I think we got to start first with the name that I think everybody wants to hear about, which is Trey Lance. He gets his debut for the Cowboys, plays a ton in this game. What is your evaluation of him after watching that game? Where do you think he is relative to what you thought going into the game versus how he played?
Yeah, my evaluation is he didn't make many mistakes, but he didn't do much to impress either. I mean, when you throw the ball 41 times and you only end up with 188 yards, I believe that's about 4.7 yards per attempt. It kind of shows you what he's doing. And even when he escaped the pocket, he relied on his throwing side. He relied on that right side. And so whenever you kind of factor in the fact that he's not pushing the ball more than 15 yards downfield, and when he is, he had, I think he was about 1 for 5. He had that completion to, that was Cooper Rush that had the completion to Jalen Brooks. So when you take out 15 plus yards down the field, and then you also factor in that he's been rolling to the right and when he's one read, he's sticking to the right side of the field. He's taken away 70% of the field, and so he's not seeing everything completely. He missed a couple of guys that were wide open down the field. There was one in the fourth quarter to Princeton Fant. I mean, Fant could have walked in. He could have crawled into the end zone, and Lance just didn't see him. Obviously, the fourth down throw to Jalen Cropper, play call, how much does that factor in? But nevertheless, he's got to make that throw. He's got to give Cropper a chance at least. I think all in all, I would give his performance somewhere in a C to C- range as far as a grade goes. But he didn't make any mistakes. And I think if you're Trey Lance, you can look at it from two different perspectives. One, okay, maybe are you a little gun shy to maybe make any big chances because you don't want to mess up in this big opportunity that you have. But also on the same token, let's say you go and throw an interception on the first drive against the Raiders. Maybe it kind of calms your nerves and say, okay, I got that mistake out the way. Let's unleash it a little bit. I really do believe the best thing that can happen for Trey Lance in the first half next week is to throw a bad interception, just so he can start forcing some things a little bit more and trusting his arm a little bit better. I truly do think that's when he'll start to grow comfortable in this system and in this offense.
Well, the thing for me, and I had a lot of hopes in him. I remember when we first started during the show that we first got out here at training camp, I mentioned him as one of the guys that stood out to me based on the way he carried himself on the field, and you just have that leader vibe and command, but then he hasn't been translating onto playing, and nothing at practice. Because I would say I would give him the benefit of the doubt after this game had I seen anything that would make me hold on to the hope that he can be more. And right now, so far, he hasn't. And the fans, I know I see a lot of questions like, hey, can he replace Trey Lance? Can he replace Dak? Can Trey replace Dak? I think that answers your question. We only have 2 more preseason games. I would assume he takes on most of the playing time there. Cooper Rush, what he showed in that little bit and what he's shown at training camp is that he's still Cooper Rush. He's the Cooper Rush that we've seen, and he's a very reliable backup quarterback. So right now, Trey, he's in a tough spot. Last year of his contract here with the Cowboys, and he's going to have to really, really step it up, because even though you say, Nick, that he didn't make a lot of mistakes, and I agree, to me, what he didn't do equals as mistakes a little bit. It's almost equivalent to me what he wasn't able to do. And a lot of the times I like that he shows that he's a mobile quarterback and he's not afraid to run. But at the same time, I want to see you throwing the ball. I don't want to see you running. I need to see my running backs running, not you at the moment. I want to see what you can do as a quarterback.
Yeah, I think Nick gave you a really good idea of the things I think that he missed. And I think that we would have a different view of Trey Lance if he completed 3 passes that we were talking about. Yep. It was so clear, and I don't know if Mike McCarthy did this on purpose, but the pass that they set it up, the one to Fant, to me seemed like okay, I'm going to take a shot here. Mm-hmm. We're close to the red zone. I'm going to run this wheel. I'm going to take the back and put him in the flat, and I'm going to run the route inside and see if I could draw this safety. Yeah. They got everything they wanted out of the play. So it was almost like McCarthy said, okay, and McCarthy here's Zimmer not using any call sheet and Mike looking like he had a menu at a Denny's. I mean, it was like every play call you can imagine on that sheet. And I think Mike might have set that up, and maybe Trey Lance didn't help him. My biggest issue with Trey Lance is I don't think he sees the field particularly well. And I say that, and I don't know if that's something that you can correct. When you see him out here at practice, there are throws that he makes, it's like he didn't see that guy. He didn't see that defender. He didn't see. There were, like I say, there were 3 plays in that game that we might, if he makes three throws, seam route to Cropper, swing pass to Fant, he makes it, or the touchdown on 4th down. Mm-hmm. We might be talking about Trey Lance in a different light today. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I'm going to see this thing through because I do see the athletic ability. He'll make these receivers work a little bit for this football. He's not the most accurate guy right now throwing the ball. But what I need for him to get better at, and hopefully he can, is seeing the field. Because they did give up some opportunities in that game. We could be thinking a lot different and talking about him a lot differently if this all of a sudden is a Cowboy victory, if it's 8 to whatever, whatever the ramp. I think there were some plays that were left on this field, and if he continues to leave those plays on the field, then he can't be your guy. Yeah. But there's some promise there. But it's just like I say. It's the word consistency, and we talk about training camp. You can say the word consistency for a lot of different players on this practice field.
But the thing with him is like what he has issues with, which you're talking about seeing the field, that takes time. Like I don't see it changing in 2 weeks of what's left of the preseason. So that's the issue for me. It's like what he needs to learn. It comes with experience and time. So but you don't have his time.
You're running out of time. You're running out of time if you want to make the evaluation, can he be your guy? And you might even make the evaluation without the time. You might now, depending on what happens with Dak, that's a whole other story. There's people out there that say that maybe, hey, no, they don't have a quarterback here. They're going to have to address that. So to me, I can understand they worked a year with him, but even though it was just, we never saw it. Right now we're seeing it. We're seeing but there's some things that he clearly has got to get better at. And it's a lot with these young quarterbacks. If they don't see the field particularly well, it's hard to play at a high level because you're constantly fighting. Okay, why did you do that? Well, you didn't see that defender. The Rams are probably looking. They won that game the other day, but they're looking at Stetson Bennett like, what the hell were you looking at?
Man wins, though. He finds a way to win.
No,
I'll
that's
tell
what
you
I'm
what.
saying. No, that's, it's a little bit different. You won the game. He had a nice drive. He made a nice throw on fourth down to win that game. But up until that point, you're going, what the hell? This guy was a national championship quarterback?
Yeah, there's a SEC fan out there going like, yeah, we've seen that a few times, at least 5 or 6 times.
Exactly.
But
So
really quick with Trey Lance, I think from a fan perspective, I think fans are like seeing him in the preseason and saying, can he be QB1? Can he be this top option if they don't re-sign Dak? I don't think that should be the mentality. It should be, can he be QB2?
Yeah.
Because I believe that they re-signed Dak. I still feel that that's about an 80% chance of happening at some point, whether that be before the season or in free agency next year. You match Trey Lance's deal to Dak's deal from a time perspective, and you let Trey be that QB2 to Dak, because Cooper Rush is also going into the final year of his deal. He's a 30-year-old backup quarterback. A, he probably wants a bigger opportunity for himself, and then B, you probably want a younger guy to back up Dak Prescott because you don't want injuries to start mounting. And so I think the mentality should be, if everything goes right with Trey Lance and he can prove that he can be a QB2, then let him be that QB2 in 2025 and beyond, and go draft a guy in the later rounds next year and work that young guy in the development program. But first, Trey's got to show that he can be a backup quarterback, and I haven't necessarily seen that yet.
All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to do some player evaluations, look at some different players played in this game and how well they performed. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Don't put off getting your oil change, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. There's no appointment needed and no waiting room. Yep, you heard that correctly. Take 5 is so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's fast, friendly, and simple service at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
Life doesn't stop when the economy is uncertain. The market might not care you have a wedding to plan or a kid to put through school. And inflation doesn't know you've got a family to feed. But Bank of America does, and is here to help. With digital tools to help you save and local experts nearby, you can keep life moving forward the way you need it to. Bank of America. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC, equal credit opportunity lender.
Back to the break.
LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game, but don't take our word for it. Digital Trends said the LG OLED, shut up, Brian. The LG OLED G4 has the best picture quality they've ever seen. See it for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of The Break. We're live from Oxnard, California. This segment brought to you by blockchain.com.
Ding!
All right, here we go. Let's do some player evaluations. I want to start first with the defensive front. Let's talk about the defensive tackle position. Mazi Smith, Justin Rogers, Carl Davis, Albert Huggins. What do you guys see from these players? And I guess let's start first with Mazi. Obviously, he's the one everybody wants to know, but probably played the least of these guys. What did you see from the defensive tackle position, particularly Mazi? Let's start with Mazi.
I ran point on Trey. You can run point on Mazi if you want to.
Yeah, I think the thing with Mazi is when you watch Mazi Smith play and you don't see his numbers from the sideline copy, you don't see a 5 and an 8, it means he's playing square. Yeah. And I think there were several snaps where you watch Mazi play square. They get on him about his hands. Coach Sagina does. It's always about inside Mazi. We talk about that quite a bit. It's about extension. It's about balance with his feet. It's about disengaging with the blocks. Mazi Smith did all the things they're asking him to do technique-wise. He didn't get washed out of plays. He didn't get turned. He didn't get just bullied in this game. He did a really good job of dealing with that. The extension I thought was really good. The screenplay we all saw where he was able to, with Bo Linder, the center, he able to extend. He finds the ball, he gets rid, and now he moves into space. And then he makes the tackle. Those are the kinds of things you expect to see from Mazi Smith. That's the kind of player that we use the word capable. Mm-hmm. That is a capable football player. That is a player you can win with playing at that level. Next play, Mazi Smith decides he wants to take a play off and doesn't want to rush and doesn't want to try and play technique. Consistency with Mazi Smith. You can't keep doing one or two good things and then decide to take plays off. If you have to play 6 plays in the series, I need you to play hard all 6 plays. Mm-hmm. They'll find ways to get you out of the game. But as far as overall what you're seeing from him, that was a step in the right direction, that game for him. Good. They could coach off that. They could see Mazi, see what happens when you do what we ask you to do. When you're not a one-legged football player, when you get your hands inside, when you find the football, when you show effort, when you go and make plays, we can win with that kind of player right there. But then the very next play, he goes back into just, okay, made a play. No, we're trying to get off the field. Here. You've got to, one more time, you got to find a way to take that center or that guard and drive him back in the pocket and affect the play. And so I'm going to say it was positive from the aspect of what we've seen because it's been really up and down. I thought there were more good plays than bad plays with Mazi Smith the other day.
Yeah, I agree. And when Brian says getting square, I refer to it as getting wide and just getting in the way of running lanes. And I thought he did a good job of it in the playing time that he did get on Sunday. You mentioned that screenplay, and that was the one that really stood out to me too because that's instincts. And yes, he was going against Bo Limmer. He should be having the upper hand against a guy like Bo Limmer, who was just drafted a rookie. It was his first taste of NFL action. You want to see Mazi Smith doing that against ones out here, maybe in the joint practice again on Wednesday. But it's a good confidence stacker for him. And I think if this team does not want to address putting another one tech on the field after training camp, then Mazi Smith really needs to be stacking confidence out here in these preseason games for sure.
I agree on the lack of consistency, but one of the things that I was paying attention to and wanting to see is, okay, how is he going to perform overall after going through a couple of weeks of mental abuse in a way? Like, I cannot pronounce this coach's name. Help me out. Scanina.
Think like scone and then Scanina.
I cannot. But again, and Brian has talked about it on the show. I mean, you stand by where they are, and you just hear the language and all that, and you're like, oh my God, okay. If that was me, I'm like, all right, guys, I'm out. Peace. Deuce. But no, it was the mental aspect for me, and I thought he handled it pretty well. Where I'm looking, is it gonna tear him down, or is he gonna step up and rise through it? And I think it's headed towards the right direction in that way.
When you look at those other defensive tackles, it seemed like, and this might have just been like, sometimes you're in a game, you're watching a game, and it kind of just you feel certain things.
Yeah.
In the second part of the first quarter and into the second quarter, it seemed like they were getting run on. Consistently, it seemed like they were just getting kind of run straight up the middle on them. Was it more the linebackers or defensive tackles?
Yeah, what happens is Leofeld needs to play more snaps. And he needs, just for his own sake, but you had when you look at the Cowboys and really what and how things were, there were times where I could say where Davis was really, really square, and you see the back have to make a decision on which way to go. And then all of a sudden, then you're in that mode where you're looking at it and you're going, wait a minute, where are the linebackers here? Where's Willie Harvey? All of a sudden it's Leofau and Harvey are like, what are you looking at? It's like they were, and I'm not going to say the word guessing, but I'm going to say the word guessing because we've seen these guys fit, finish, and it was like, okay, ball coming, and now all of a sudden you're reading scheme, you're seeing a puller, you're seeing a down block, and now you're flying this way, and it just creates a natural gap. So linebackers missed some fits, and I felt like the defensive tackles for the most part did their jobs. When the squareness, Davis, Rodgers I thought played really well in this game. When you go back and watch him play, but these linebackers, they needed it. Not so much like the first guys you saw with Overshown and Clark. Overshown's a little bit of a slippery guy in between. He beats the block inside, down, run defense. Then you see all of a sudden ball's the outside. He's there again. Clark's taking on blocks. You saw it better up front. When you see square linemen and linebackers filling, you see better run. There was a time where Carl Davis, they play great on the run defense. Davis takes the guard back in the backfield. You stop the tape there, and now the back is having to decide, where do I go? He goes to his right. Now you got downhill linebacker, safety now coming in the hole. Everybody's there. Everybody's playing it the right way. That's run defense. But sometimes with run defense, it's not all about the defensive linemen. Those linebackers can't guess, and I do say this about Leofau, and this is not a criticism. He needs to play more. Yeah. But they were really really anxious with him, and Harvey were really super anxious the way they were playing in that game the other day.
Yeah, there's a couple of clips of Harvey that have kind of made their way on Twitter of him just guessing the wrong running lanes. And it was tough because I felt like he was having a strong camp. But as far as a defensive perspective, he didn't look great in that game. But the linebacker position doesn't necessarily concern me, but there were some running lane discipline things that I think you can look at and you can point to as possible film corrections going into week 2. But you mentioned the defensive tackles. The one name you didn't mention is Albert Huggins, one of the newest additions. I think he got caught on his back a couple of times. You talk about the sideline tape. You saw his number a couple of times too. I think he could have had a better preseason debut. But as far as the other guys, talking about Rodgers, talking about Mazi, Carl Davis, I liked what I saw from those guys. And I think more so whenever you look at the problems that stemmed up front in that game was lack of pressure generated from the ends. I mean, they were not getting home at all. And while Stetson Bennett did make a lot of mistakes, I don't think they were necessarily caused by the pressure. I think it was more so caused by the disguised coverage.
Can I say this, though, real quick? Sure. When you start talking about defensive tackles, and Nick, I don't know if you thought or you guys maybe saw it yourselves, I kind of felt like Fehoko and Golston looked better playing as edges than they did as defensive tackles. Yeah. And we've seen him out here a bunch, and it's been like, someone's like, what's Fehoko doing? And I'm like, kind of a struggle today. But he looked like a different player playing in space with the ability to play the wide rush. And yeah, they didn't get home, and they really didn't have anybody doing that. But it looked like that Golston and him both were more comfortable playing on the edge, and that's maybe why you go and get Huggins, that maybe he could come in and be a backup 3, or they take Nealon, and when they go to nickel, they move him inside, and that way you have Parsons, Nealon, Osa, and then Tank, and that's going to be your pass rush, and hopefully that's going to bode better for you getting pressures.
Yeah, and to clarify, I don't have any concerns about the pass rush unit from this team because, again, we didn't see the ones.
They didn't get it done yesterday, or the other day, though.
Yeah, but they did not get it done. When it comes to rotational bodies, and that's obviously a highlight with Sam Williams going down with his ACL injury, who's going to be those first guys to rotate in? And right now, I don't think Darrell Johnson showed anything. I don't think Al-Kanad Muhammad showed anything. Shaka Tony, I didn't see a lot from those guys, but you see Golston getting off the edge, and you see that power, and you're like, okay, that looks a lot more natural to him than coming in at 3 tech. So I think there maybe needs to be some readjusting a philosophy with a couple of guys, I think, on the defensive line, because I think you're not maximizing guys like Golston or Fehoko. You look at Fehoko and what he did well at San Jose State, why he was able to get to the quarterback double-digit times his senior season. It's because he was put in space. Whether that was inside or out, he had more space to operate. And I think if you marry that background with a little bit more size, a little bit more experience that he has, I think you can maximize what he brings to the pass rush.
Yeah, I think to me, if they're looking at positions, if you're pro scouts and you're kind of thinking about things, I know everybody's looking at running back. I think everybody's looking at defensive tackle, and I think they need to kind of think about looking at edge too. I know they brought in Muhammad and Tony and guys like that. You might have to go with an upgrade there to make up for the Fowler and the Armstrong and those types of guys.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest key is without Fowler, without Armstrong, without Williams, those are three guys that you can say what you want about what they were kind of – you could question how much they brought you in the run defense.
Right.
The pass defense, there was no question.
Yeah.
You bringing those guys in as rotational guys, they were getting after the quarterback, and that's the piece where I think the Cowboys may miss a little bit this season if they don't figure out some kind of way to manufacture that a little better. And maybe that's with blitzing linebackers, those kind of things. I think there's some other things they can do, but that's going to be a bit of a challenge for them at the edge without those top two guys, or with those top two guys having to rotate in and out.
Well, I trust in Mike Zimmer. In Mike Zimmer, I trust. And I trust that after watching film, he's going to get with the defensive line coach, and they're going to change things up or improve by this weekend against the Raiders.
We'll take a final break. When we come back, I actually want to talk about Mike Zimmer. And in his first outing with the Cowboys as a defensive coordinator, they get 4 interceptions, which you can put that on Stetson Bennett, or you can say that this defense was just doing some great things. We'll talk about that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from Oxnard, California. Well, we are brought to you by LG. LG is the world's #1 OLED TV brand for 11 years and counting. See why at LG.com/OLED Evo. All right.
Smooth.
Let's talk about Mike Zimmer. And one of the things that we talked a lot about last week and really since he's gotten here is Mike Zimmer's defense is built on disguise. They kind of show you lots of different things. They got 4 interceptions in this game. You could probably say 5. The holding call took back one of them. Brian, you mentioned maybe it should have been 6.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think that was a lot because of, or do you put that more on Mike Zimmer's defense and the disguise and obviously a young quarterback having to deal with that? Or do you think these defensive backs really were just playing an outstanding game to be able to? Because as we talked about, the pass rush wasn't necessarily like a killer pass rush. Do you think it was just the secondary guys really playing outstanding football?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a few things. I think when you look at the 4 interceptions and you look at, okay, let's look at each one in a vacuum. How much was a product of the scheme? How much was a product of a guy just being in the right place? How much of it was a product of Stetson Bennett just not seeing somebody and making a poor decision? So I'll go one by one here. Marquise Bell, the first interception, he was in the right place, but he also had to make a really good play. And I think that was a hell of a play by Bell to be able to get up there and get that. The second interception was to Eric Scott, I believe. And that was a product of him just being in the right place again. And it was kind of funny because he was getting cooked on that drive. He probably had 2 or 3 plays that he probably would have wanted back. But then he got it back with the interception there in the red zone. And I think that was a scheme thing. I think that was Scott just being in the right spot. Then you look at interception number 3, Julius Wood. And I have to give all credit to Wood there. I mean, he was playing in his zone. He was doing what he was supposed to do as that single high safety, which, by the way, we saw a lot of single high safety looks, which that
one was at a 2 deep.
That wasn't
too deep
okay.
Because they caught the crosser.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
He stepped right in front of the crosser, and he made a hell of a play. He was able to just get to the ball before the receiver did. Stetson put it a little bit out in front, but I think overall, it was a really good play from Wood. And then the 4th interception, Brock Mogensen, Stetson Bennett just didn't see him. He threw it right to Brock's hands. So I think all in all, the defensive system is definitely confusing quarterbacks off of the one game that we have against a third-string quarterback. But I also think there's some application, especially by these rookies and these second-year guys, to be able to take to the field and just be in the right spots and go grab these balls.
Yeah, I give Al Harris a lot of credit here. These guys, I mean, you could, Al Harris on the sidelines, when something happens to his guys, he is a very emotional, coach on that, But they did a really nice job in this game. I thought initially first the young guys, when you talked about Scott and then Carson, I thought they both played really timid the first series or 2 of the game. And then all of a sudden, Carson, he drove on a ball that it was a receiver, quick pass out to the flat. He drives on the ball, makes a tackle, much like he made on the field 1 over here when they worked against the Rams last time. And from that point on, he became more aggressive. He was driving on routes. Before the first, couple of passes that he faced, it was kind of like he was hanging back, and then drive. But we've seen him play downhill quick. And I felt like after he made that tackle, it kind of got him into that mode of, okay, I'm not going to let these guys. Every other pass after that was contested for him. Yeah, they had some receptions on him, but he went from being a guy that looked kind of scared, and I shouldn't use the word scared because he's not scared. He's a tough player. But he played with more purpose after he made that.
The butterflies went out.
Yeah, it did. And I think the thing with a lot of these guys, the one thing we've talked about with Zimmer is he's going to put guys, him and Al Harris are going to put guys in positions to make plays. For them to get 4 interceptions, I think that's a little bit on Stetson Bennett, but I think it's also on the Cowboys for being Woods, those guys driving on balls, making sure that, hey, I'm supposed to play her on the hash. All of a sudden I hear, oh, cross. When you hear cross, now your eyes go inside, and here you are, boom, you see the crosser, you see the ball, and now you drive and make the play. Yeah. That is practice, that is skill, that is scheme. And those are all things, and that's why you get the stops that you do of those interceptions.
I think he's teaching things with intent, and the players have really bought into what he's selling. And this is very different from the time where Mike Nolan was out here leading.
Who?
And it was.
You just want to bring up old stuff.
No, but the point is with that, during that time, they were trying to do all these different things, but it was just confusing. And you talk to the players, and then they were saying it. So there was talks a lot about that it was just very confusing, and no one knew what the heck was going on. No one was on the same page. But with Zimmer, you see the command that he's taking. You talk to the players and listen to what they're saying, and they speak so highly of him. And when you have a group of guys that are just completely sold on what he's doing and all into the new scheme and what they're doing, and seeing that it is effective, because this is not just, we saw it in the game against the Rams. We've been seeing it here at practice. We've been seeing how the disguise has created better opportunities for players to be positioned in a way that they can excel of their position and what they're trying to do. So it's all very, very exciting. And Zimmer, you talked about him not having the sheets. I mean, he's a baller. Like, he's just out there calling plays. Yeah. It's very fun and very exciting. And I think that the guys are just really shining in this game. And Marquise Bell, God, that guy, it's amazing. The fact that we saw him last year, doing pretty well at linebacker, helping there. Now he's transitioned back to safety. Yeah. And what he's doing, he's back in his natural spot, and he's really, really shining. And he's going to be a guy that's going to be very effective this season.
While you're at it, throw Rob Ryan in there for the confusing aspect of football. Sometimes you have 12 on the field. Sometimes you have 9. Sometimes you're playing man. Sometimes you're playing zone. We don't know.
If I could,
we're Rob Ryan. Great for the sound bites, though.
He is phenomenal.
Great for a sound bite.
To this day.
Great for a sound bite. Maybe not so good on scheming them up. How about that?
Can we take a look at the cornerback picture just for a moment? Because you look at that trade last week, right? For Nahshon Wright to Minnesota. In exchange, they get Andrew Booth. And you look at how that helps Dallas from a personnel perspective. You look at Andrew Booth. I see him more as an inside guy. Do you feel the same way, Brian?
I've seen him only play outside. So
I feel him more as an inside guy, at least in this scheme.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then a guy like Eric Scott really needs to have a good camp.
Yeah, that makes
starts
sense.
to worry me about his spot, because I think from their perspective, they see Kalen Carson as a guy that they can trust on the boundaries. Like, okay, he's going to be our first rotational guy. We have Nahshon Wright. Let's try to flip him for a guy that maybe fits a little bit better with what we're trying to work with. And then you look at Andrew Booth. I feel like he has that physicality. He has that quick twitch to be able to work inside. He did a little bit of it at Clemson. So I think he's a guy that can factor in on the inside in case there was an injury to happen there. And if that's the case, like I said, I think Eric Scott's in trouble.
I hope you're right, because I haven't seen him. I watched that Clemson tape. He was a second-round pick out of Clemson, so he was a high pick. But I always saw they played a ton of zone. Mm-hmm. They really didn't challenge him all that much at Clemson, but that will be interesting to see how well he tackles.
Yeah. Really good dude, by the way. Met him in the locker room after the game, and he's excited to be here. So that's a fun one to keep track of.
You mentioned Eric Scott. So what was your evaluation of Eric Scott in this game, knowing that this is a pivotal time for him?
Yeah, I didn't love his performance. You take away that interception, and I think he probably wants that entire game back. He had a couple of routes where he bit on early breaks. Yeah. He had the bad 15-yard penalty pushing a guy out of bounds. It was a rough day for Eric Scott, and I think the interception definitely made up for a couple of his mistakes, because he was able to get him back in the red zone. But overall, he needs to have a really solid last 2 weeks here at camp and in the preseason. I just don't see how he gets on the field right now. He doesn't have the speed to be able to keep up with guys. The coverage ability hasn't quite matched. And what I love from him at Southern Miss, too, was his run game instincts, and we haven't seen any of that either. That's so I think Eric Scott needs to uptick it a little bit for sure.
Yeah, so the consistency part of it too is
there's that word again.
You've seen plays that he's made, but it's just not enough. And like you said, it's gonna. When you're surrounded by these other guys, what they're doing, you're gonna slowly start to fall into the shadows where people are not going to notice you that much or remember you. So he needs to step it up for sure, but he's had those little moments of shining.
Don't be a flash player. Nobody likes a flash player. Hard to evaluate a flash player.
Especially at corner.
A flash, and then you don't see it, and you see something bad happen, and maybe another flash. Flash players are really hard. Eric Scott tends to be a little bit of a flash player.
Yep, and I think it's even highlighted by the fact of what you've seen from Kalen Carson that you want Eric Scott to come on, got to get it going, because this young guy, he's coming in here as a rookie, and he's turning some heads, and he's doing it consistently. That goes back to that word we've been talking about. All right, appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back on Thursday of this week to get you guys ready. There's so much going on. We got a joint practice now that's going to happen tomorrow between the Cowboys and the Rams. They're coming back out for another day.
Oh, more training camp live?
Yes, more training camp live. We'll have all that going tomorrow.
Let's get
and then we'll head into a weekend of football. On Saturday, Cowboys will take on the Las Vegas Raiders. We're heading out to Las Vegas on Friday. We'll be out there. And then we'll get back into
that sports book, Derek. You know about that.
Do what?
Stay out of that sports book.
Hey, I don't do that.
I told Rob Phillips
I've done all my training. I've done all my training. I know exactly where I should be and should not be. So you will not catch me in the sports book.
Yeah, Rob Phillips and I. Yeah, you go in there, you're both fired. Okay, not going in the sports book.
Until the next time. Brian Broaddus, Amber Garcia, Nick Harris. I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!